Greetings, everyone. Well, it's update time again here, another timey-wimey Tuesday. So I've got a few new additions to the Doctor Who Target Books collection. Some pretty significant ones, actually. Got a pretty significant piece of the puzzle, which I'm very excited about to show you. And in addition to that, I got what many consider to be kind of one of the big early inspirations for Doctor Who. Yes, Doctor Who before Doctor Who, sort of. Alright, let's get to it. DVD and, is there any Blu-rays? No, DVD and book update. British Sci-Fi, Doctor Who, and something else. Today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Alrighty, well, let's start off with the Target books here, shall we? So first up, the big significant piece of the puzzle that I finally got my hands on after several aborted attempts. A few went missing in the mail, some just... Actually, I think I ordered this twice, like from two different sellers, and both times it went missing. And I ended up having to get a refund. So finally, I got one, and it arrived. I'm holding it in my hand. The last story I needed to complete my first Doctor collection, The Massacre. Yeah, there you go. So this is a pretty significant one. This is The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve. And the original televised story, which sadly is one of the missing ones, featured William Hartnell in a double role, much like how Patrick Troughton a few years later would play a double role in Enemy of the World as both the Doctor and the main villain. William Hartnell did it first with The Massacre. He plays both the Doctor and one of the primary villains of the story. So, pretty cool stuff. I've never seen or read that one before, so it's going to be all new to me. So, actually, I think... Did I see the story? No, I don't think I did, because I couldn't find a decent reconstruction of it. So, this is like, I think, the only classic Doctor Who story that I've never experienced in any form. So, definitely looking forward to checking that one out. Okay, and with the first Doctor collection complete, it's time to start working on the second Doctor collection. I've already got a bunch, as you guys know, but quite a few gaps to fill. Starting off with Tomb of the Cybermen. Yeah, kind of a strange choice of Cybermen on the cover here, because this is not the way they looked in that story. It's actually, this is a later Cyberman design, but... oh well, whatever. It's the novelization of Tomb of the Cybermen, which was a missing story until I think it was 1992. They actually discovered all four episodes in the basement of a monastery. And immediately reacquired them, rushed them out onto VHS, which I had the original release of. You'll see mention of that in a retro video at some point, I think. And... yeah, so anyway, great stuff, Tomb of the Cybermen. And finally, this is one that I actually used to have many, many years ago. A pretty interesting sort of classic base under siege story for the second Doctor. We have Fury from the Deep, which, again, is another one that's largely missing. There's some pretty significant clips and chunks of this that still exist, and some behind-the-scenes footage, interestingly enough, but sadly no complete episodes. So we maintain hope that one day the missing episodes will be recovered. This one also is a slightly longer book than the sort of standard 128-page length that was prevalent throughout most of the Target books run. This one is 189 pages, so it's got a little bit more room to breathe, which is good, because it was originally a 6-part story. So, all right, so next up, we have... I sort of teased you a little bit and said this is kind of like Doctor Who before Doctor Who. Yeah, well, in the early to mid-50s, there was a series of serials called Quatermass. And Quatermass basically followed the adventures of a scientist who kind of got caught up dealing with various alien and supernatural occurrences going on around England. Well, Yeah, sadly, this has never been released in Region 1, so I had to get the Region 2 release. We have all of what exists of the original BBC serials from the 50s. So the Quatermass Experiment, which was the first one, they actually didn't record all 6 episodes of it. They only recorded the first 2. Video recording was kind of in its infancy at the time, and I guess what seems to be the story is that they weren't very, very happy with how the recordings turned out, so they didn't bother to record the rest. Yeah, at this point in time, TV just went out live. Like, they basically did it like a stage play. They would have some pre-filmed segments that were on, 16mm film, and then the rest would just, all the studio stuff just went out live. And then, so anyway, it was never recorded, so the world only ever saw it once, that one time when it went out live. Thankfully, we at least do have the first 2 episodes, so we're not completely lost. Quatermass 2 and the third one, Quatermass and The Pit, are both complete. And also as a special bonus on this DVD set, which, by the way, the remastering for these was actually done by the same team who did all the Doctor Who DVDs, the Doctor Who restoration team. So that's pretty cool. So you know you're in for a treat there, and they're giving you the best possible quality that they can with the source material. But as a bonus, in the DVD-ROM material, they actually have the scripts for the remaining 4 episodes of the first serial, so you can at least read how it turned out and not be left hanging forever. So that's kind of a nice consideration on their part there. So the reason I say it's kind of like Doctor Who before Doctor Who is, as I've been watching these, it reminded me very heavily of in particular, the first season of the Third Doctor. The first season of the Third Doctor very much has a Quatermass vibe to it, where the Doctor's kind of dealing with strange alien phenomenon that are coming to Earth and such, and that's much what the original Quatermass serials did as well. So if you like the Third Doctor and sort of his earthbound adventures, you'll probably really like Quatermass as well. It's got the same kind of flavor to it. Now, that said, in addition to the original BBC serials, the BBC had an arrangement with Hammer Films, where Hammer Films actually did feature-length movie adaptations of each of the serials. So, since I guess they didn't really repeat stuff very much back then, it was a way to get a little bit more profitability out of the stories. So they just recently released through the Kino Lorber Studio Classics line the first of the 3 movies. So we have the Quatermass Experiment. So even though the original serial is incomplete, you can at least get the full story with the movie. Now, the movies are kind of a condensed version. They run about half the length of time that the original serials did, but you get all the main beats of the story in there anyway. So pretty cool stuff. And there's actually a fair number of extras on here as well. Got like interviews and featurettes and all kinds of stuff. There's quite a lot of extras on this as well. Now, the other 2 Hammer movies, sadly, are not available on Blu-ray. It looks like Quatermass 2, the original Hammer movie, is not available on Blu-ray anywhere in the world. I know in the UK a few years back they released a Hammer collection which had the 3 Quatermass movies in it, and Quatermass Experiment and Quatermass and The Pit were both put out on Blu-ray, but Quatermass 2 was only put out on DVD for some reason. It was only standard F. I don't know if that just means that they don't have the source elements anymore or what the story is there, but I'd really like to get the other 2 in high def if possible. In the meantime, I've shown this before, I do have this budget release that I got a while back, Quartermass and The Pit. Quatermass, yet, oh, no, yeah, they misspell it on the disc too. Quatermass and The Pit. And the reason I bought this was because I had seen the Hammer film adaptation of it, and on the back, throughout all the description, they talk about how this is the movie-length 3-hour compilation of the original BBC serial, and which hasn't been seen for a very long time. They go off and on, just on and on and on about how this is the original version as it aired on BBC television. So I popped the disc in, and no, it's the Hammer film, and it's about 90 minutes, not 3 hours. So, like, completely misleading packaging. This is not a bootleg. This is just some cheapo budget release that couldn't even be bothered to look at the title of the movie and spell it properly, apparently. So, anyway, this is not a new pickup. I've had this for years. But the last new one I have, speaking of the original, we have this from 2005, the Quatermass Experiment, which is yet another adaptation of the first one. It seems like they're just determined to tell that story despite the original not being fully recorded. So this is really interesting. This is a movie version from 2005, which runs a little over 90 minutes. But the thing that makes this interesting is, remember how I was saying how the originals went out live? Well, so did this one from 2005. They actually did this as a live broadcast. It was a pretty big deal to do a live dramatic broadcast in 2005. Yeah, that's just unheard of. So anyway, they basically wanted to recapture the same kind of, I guess, production process that they did with the original and sort of give a similar experience. So, so it's great. And it stars Adrian Dunbar, Mark Gatiss, David Tennant, a year before he became the Doctor, and Jason Flemyng. So, yeah, I watched this a number of years ago, and it's really well done. They did a really good job of it. So this is yet another way that you can experience the story of the original Quatermass Experiment. So, very good stuff indeed. And sadly, this also is only available as a Region 2 release, but I don't have an issue watching Region 2 content. I basically just rip it to my computer and watch it there, where region coding doesn't even enter into the equation, and it doesn't care if it's PAL or NTSC on the computer, it's just data. So, yeah. Anyway, so I've been watching these and really enjoying them a lot, because I had seen this, and then I had seen the old Hammer adaptation of Quatermass and The Pit. But Quatermass 2 is completely new to me. I'm actually in the middle of that one right now, and really enjoying it a lot. They're very creepy and very spooky. I remember when I worked for the Calgary Health Department a number of years ago, there was a British woman who I worked with. Really, really smart, funny, just wicked wit lady. And we got to talking about British science fiction and such, and I mentioned, I grew up watching a lot on PBS, like Doctor Who and Blake Seven and the Tripods and stuff like that. And she said, oh, there was one I saw when I was a little girl. It just scared the hell out of me. And then she just paused. I had a feeling I knew what she was going to say, just knowing her age. And, when she would have been young enough to be scared by British science fiction. And she paused and then said, Quatermass. I'm like, yeah, Quatermass. I know the one you're talking about. And I said, they've got those all out on DVD now. And she's like, oh, no. I couldn't watch it again. It's really, traumatized me as a kid. And then, of course, I'm just thinking, wow, I've really got to see these originals. These sound awesome. So, so finally, at long last, I can see the originals. So, good stuff. So, yeah, if you're, looking, curious about some of the early origins of Doctor Who, I highly recommend checking out Quatermass. It's not only the origins of Doctor Who in a lot of ways, but also the origins of British science fiction. Like, prior to this, there really wasn't very much sci-fi on British television. I mean, this is really sort of the first really serialized science fiction that they did. Certainly, well, at least that I know of. I mean, it's certainly the most notable. And this is kind of considered to be ground zero for where the germ of the idea for, I don't want to say germ, the seed of the idea for Doctor Who started. So, yeah, good stuff. Alrighty, that is it for this update. Hope you enjoyed. So thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, and I'll see you next time. Until then, sayonara.